I'm originally from Denmark. I enjoyed renovating older homes and I thought maybe that's a way to make a living, potentially. I like the idea of it being a really creative process, but at the same time it's also pragmatic in as much as it's bricks and mortar. You're actually building it for people to use. And it's just that transformation of spaces and seeing people living in these spaces that are being transformed and how it just improves their lives and how happy they become of it. I think there's such a dumbification of residential design happening across the board, not just in New Zealand but around the world, and something needs to change on that because we just have such huge scope for making much nicer living environments. When I came to New Zealand and very happily moved into a villa and renovated that and thought that was amazing, and also see that there is a lot of that building stock here which needs some TLC, and I just found that I really enjoyed that whole aspect of it because the way it works with the inside-outside flow and the whole way and the sense of approach and arrival into a space. That was, I think, is really important to how people think about themselves and also about how we just feel about arriving home. It's such a big thing. That whole connection to the past in New Zealand's history, I think, is quite important with some of these old houses. I was at Chamber of Commerce and that's where I found out about Richard Petrie.
I think there's two parts to being a successful architect. One, you've got to be a good architect, but that's not the issue because they all are. But they need to be a marketer of architectural services as well. Because if you don't do the first job, there is no second job. Or it's a pretty crummy job. So it's really tough because no one's teaching it.
I think it's because we don't know how to market ourselves. I think that personally, the time of the generalist architect is over. You realise there's this massive machine in front of your business that you should be working on. I mean, Richard calls it being a marketer first and an architect second, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. Always marketing, once you get into this whole groove of marketing and running a business, then you're always looking. So first you actually have to overcome the hurdle within yourself about, no, I have to market my business. Then secondly, you have to sort of overcome the hurdle of the wider framework of architects in New Zealand who doesn't necessarily enjoy you marketing yourself. And then lastly, then it's like, oh my goodness, what do I actually do? You know, so there's all this internalized stuff that needs to happen first, I believe, before you actually start doing the nuts and bolts of marketing.
If you're a business owner, you have to be into marketing because this is really just psychology. And the people you're selling to are just people with thoughts and feelings and certain triggers that make them do things in certain ways. And suddenly when they go and buy architecture services, they don't change. You know, people are people. Believing in your own value and being able to communicate your own value, that's often the missing piece that people need to get their head around before they do this. You can't out-earn your marketing. So number one is, if I do great work, I'll be busy. That's a lie, right? You do good work, I do good work, Mona does good work. And half the time, most of the people, 80% of the people aren't flat out busy. Mistake number two is thinking if I spend money on marketing or traditional marketing, that'll make me busy. That's not true either. You know, if that was true, everybody would be spending money on marketing, but the fact is they spend a little bit, get no results, and then get gun shy and go, whoa, you know, I'm just down 1,000 here and nothing's happened. Traditional marketing isn't going to work. The marketing you see on TV is not going to work. The marketing you see in the newspapers isn't going to work, not for selling professional services. It might help McDonald's sell hamburgers, it's not going to sell architectural services. If you want to be successful, you've got to think like the big companies who need to sell every single month, who need new projects coming in. You need to do it on a small basis.
Architects, I think, are quite good at lulling themselves into thinking they're doing all right when they're not really. But I guess the thing to also realise, even if you do like 3 months or 6 months of marketing, that's just the beginning. You know, it doesn't stop and then it just grows continuously, and then eventually some of those practices which you're really struggling to learn, it just becomes part of your day-to-day running of your business.
Everything you do as an architect, you're only going to be successful if you break the old rules. Because if you just copy what everyone else is doing, I can promise you, you'll be following people who are following people who are following people who are lost. no point following them.
We started to become really successful with the initial stuff, got a lot of leads and then we didn't quite really know what to do with them. And that's where I took a step back and realised, well, you have to actually not just work on getting the work, you also have to work on, well, then how does it filter through the whole system? We get a lot of inquiries for work, probably 2 or 3 inquiries a day, which is more than we can handle. So then we just got to manage how fast we want to grow and how big do we want to get. If I was just trying to describe myself how I was before I met Richard, in terms of I was standing on this meadow and then meeting Richard, he pushed me to the cliff edge, you know, and then I had to jump in myself. But here we are, we've jumped down and we're in the waterfall and I don't know where it's going to go. You
do have to take a bit of a leap, and really it's an investment, I think, in yourself. You know, it's not just enough to take the strategies and things like that, you've got to take on board the mindset as well.